Okay, so let's dive into something called milestone apathy. You know that weirdly quiet, almost flat feeling you can get right after a huge achievement? Well, today we're going to unpack the psychology behind why that happens. It's fascinating. I mean, really think about it. You grind for months, maybe even years, for something big, graduation, a promotion, you name it. And when the day finally shows up, you feel fine, just fine. Not over the moon, not ecstatic, just normal. If you're nodding along right now, trust me, you are so not alone. And look, the first thing you need to know is this: you're not broken, you're not ungrateful. That feeling of flatness isn't some kind of flaw. It's actually a sign that your brain is running this incredibly smart, super protective program in the background. And this gets us right into what I like to call the big day paradox. It's this giant gap between what the world tells you that you should be feeling and what's actually going on inside your own head, right? Society totally scripts these big moments for pure, unfiltered joy. We're sold this idea of fireworks and champagne and just this overwhelming sense of victory. But our internal reality, man, it is often so much more complicated. It's usually a messy mix of relief that it's finally over, a little bit of anxiety about what comes next, or, yeah, sometimes just a quiet sense of calm. So why? Why does this happen? Well, it turns out your brain has two really powerful psychological tools that it uses to manage these major life events. Let's break them down. Okay, so the first tool is all about managing your emotional temperature. I want you to think of it like your brain has a built-in thermostat just for your feelings, and its main job is to keep you stable. Now, the technical term for this is emotional regulation. It's basically your brain working behind the scenes, totally subconsciously, to keep you on an even keel. Its whole goal is to stop you from getting so incredibly high that you risk an equally devastating crash later on. So this thermostat for your feelings is always working in the background. On a day that's supposed to be a 10 out of 10 on the excitement scale, your brain's internal thermostat might just quietly dial it back to, say, a 7. It's not trying to be a party pooper, it's just trying to keep you safe. And this whole process really happens in about 3 steps. First, your brain acknowledges, okay, yeah, this is a big deal. Then it subtly, subconsciously downplays that potential emotional peak. And why does it do that? Well, it's a preemptive move. It's all about protecting you from that inevitable emotional dip that comes after a huge high. It's not killing your joy, it's just preserving your emotional energy for the long haul. All right, so that's the first tool. The second key mechanism at play here is what you could call your internal scorecard. You know, that relentless, forward-looking way you're constantly measuring your own progress. And this has a name too, self-evaluation. It's that little voice in your head that the second you cross one finish line is already scanning the horizon for the next one. It's a survival mechanism, really, one that's totally wired for growth. What this means is, by the time the actual milestone arrives, your mind has pretty much already processed the achievement and moved on. The real win happened when you handed in that final paper, or when you got the job offer call. The ceremony, the first day on the job, that's just the epilogue. Your brain is already busy working on the strategy for the next chapter. And this right here perfectly sums it up. That big moment often feels less like a triumphant finish line and way more like a brief little rest stop on a much, much longer journey. Your focus has already shifted to the road ahead, not the one in the rearview mirror. So we've got these two powerful forces, emotional regulation and self-evaluation, working together. Let's take a look at how they actually play out in some familiar, real-world situations. Okay, let's take graduation. Society expects pure joy, right? But internally, that's your self-evaluation kicking into high gear. Phew, that's over. Now, I gotta find a job. Or how about a big promotion? You're expected to be on top of the world, but your emotional thermometer might be saying, okay, hold on, more responsibility, more pressure, let's stay calm and not mess this up. And the big birthday, that classic, it's just another day feeling, that is pure emotional regulation, just managing the hype to keep you from feeling let down. So when you put all of this together, you can start to reframe this entire experience in a new light. What we've been calling milestone apathy, well, it isn't really apathy at all. It's actually a very sophisticated form of psychological control. And this is the big idea I want you to walk away with. That feeling of being a little underwhelmed isn't a system malfunction. It's not a bug. It's a feature of your psychological operating system, one that's designed for stability and long-term success.
And this feature has some serious perks. It's what protects you from the crash and burn of unmet expectations. It helps you manage the intense pressure and anxiety around these big events. It also keeps you focused on what's next, on future growth, which ultimately prevents the kind of emotional burnout that comes from riding crazy highs and lows all the time.
So the next time you feel a little quiet on a big day, just remember this. It doesn't mean you're not happy or that you're not grateful. It just means your mind is skillfully protecting you, conserving your energy, and getting you ready for the long, exciting journey that's still to come. It's really just a sign of sophisticated self-preservation. And that leaves us with one final thought. Now that you know this is a totally natural, even protective process, how are you going to look at your next big achievement? Maybe with a little more kindness to yourself, or even an appreciation for that quiet calm. It's definitely something worth thinking about. Thanks for exploring this with me.